Okay, in our previous video, we installed Microsoft SQL Server. We took a look at the applications that have been added. We've seen Microsoft SQL Server, the 4 links that have been added, the configuration manager, which lets us manage the configuration, but doesn't really let us manage the Microsoft SQL Server itself. And its databases. So what we need to do is install the management tool, which is SSMS. And the reason they don't include that is because there is, in a lot of instances, what will happen is you'll have the SQL servers running in one room and you'll have somebody managing it from another room, right? So they might be in my data center, locked up, climate controlled, all of those things. Out at my DBA, my database administrator's workstation, I've installed the management tool, which allows them to manage all of the SQL servers in our network without having to, walk into the climate controlled data center. And also, they can manage them all from a single workstation rather than having to jump around physically to multiple SQL servers. So that's why they don't include that. So I could install this on my workstation. Because I'm doing this in a test environment, I'm going to go ahead and install it here, however. So here it is. We're going to go to, under the installation, we're looking for the SQL Server Management Tools. So, and this tells us about SSMS, the SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to click on that. And that's going to actually take me out to a website because it's not included in my download. And that's no big deal. It's just the way they do it. It's isolated because, again, the assumption is you're not always going to put them on the same devices. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to where I get to this download SSMS 21. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to download my file for me. There it is. I accidentally did it twice. All right, so I'm going to open up my downloads folder. Actually, I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm just going to open up the installer. Now, it needs the Visual Studio in order to function, and it pops up and says, hey, before you get started, we need to set up a few things. Okay, cool. Visual Studio installer, just go do it. And so it's going to go automatically download the Visual Studio installer for me and then install Visual Studio, or at least the components of it that it needs. So all of that happens automatically. All I have to do is say, yep, go do it. And Visual Studio components are now installed. I'm going to go ahead and close this because I don't need it. Okay. I can install while downloading. This tells me a little bit about it, workloads, individual components, language packs. You know what? The installation details, I can just do SSMS core. If I wanted to do more, I can choose here, Copilot and SSMS. Integration services, you get the idea. Lots of different things, do it in a different language, set a different installation location, whatever. When I am happy with all of it, I can also add hybrid and migration, business intelligence, code tools, and AI assistance. So I can install while downloading or download and then install. It doesn't really matter to me. So I'm just going to click install and let it go for it. So here's my download operation, my install operation. Now this actually asked me a whole lot less questions than installing the SQL Server. It makes sense, right? The management tools, we don't have as many upfront questions because we don't need as much configuration behind it. So I've got it downloaded. My installation, I'm installing package 23 of 192. I was at 7%. Now it just jumped. I can read the release notes down below that if I want, right here, or I can pause if I want. Well, I am going to pause, but I'm going to pause the video, not the installation. And we're going to pick the video back up when we get a little closer to the end. Okay, so our installation is finished. It comes up with this little done installing here. So I'm going to click OK. And SQL Server Management Studio 21. We are all set. I can launch it from here, but I want to go ahead and close this. I'm going to close this too because I'm done with it. Because most of the time when we launch it, we're going to do it from here. So here's our SQL Server 2022 tools. And here's our SQL Server Tools 2021. And that's where we're going to find our SQL Server Management Studio, or SSMS for short. So I'm going to click on SSMS. And that's going to open up the application for me. And remember, this was kind of designed to be used remotely. So you can sign into SQL Server Management Studio using Microsoft, GitHub, create a new account, or I'm going to skip and I'm going to worry about other accounts later, or not worry about them if I don't need them. And this is going to bring up SSMS. And this is where I'm going to do most of my management of my SQL Server. Okay, we have a new collection dialog experience. Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. And it's going to pop up in just a second. And there we go. We're going to connect to our local host. Now, I can do Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication or Entra authentication if I'm using something integrated with Azure. So this is the mixed authentication, or the Windows authentication mode that we defined when we did our initial SQL installation in the previous video. If I did mixed mode, I could have created a local SQL Server account and gone there. So Windows authentication, database default, encryption mandatory. I actually don't have anything set up for encryption yet. I can set up to encrypt that. So I'm going to switch that to optional rather than doing the mandatory. I can specify a database that I want to connect to. I don't have to. Yeah, that should be everything that I need. So I'm going to click connect, and that connects me to my local server. Now, remember, if I'm doing this remotely, so I've got my server on one device and my management studio on another, I need to have opened ports on my server's firewall. I can set up encryption for the connection if I want. But then I would launch it on that device, and then I just have to put in the correct machine name, make sure I've got my ports open, all my connection settings, and I'm in. So here we are. This is everything that comes pre-built. So I'm connected to localhost, gives me my server information. I have some databases pre-built. I don't have any user databases at the moment, but I do have some system databases, handful of things that are predefined, and then a bunch of management tools. So at this point, my SQL Server is up and running, and my SSMS Studio is ready to manage and is connected to the server. So at this point, I can begin experimenting, playing, and learning Microsoft SQL Server.